right. Welcome, guys, to another Note to File Live. Our guest today, Alex Yant. Alex, how's it going, man?
Doing all right. How about you, Brad?
Not too shabby. It's a fun Tuesday morning. Alex has been a guest before. If you haven't checked out his episode, it's at Note to File Podcast. It's episode 50. So make sure and check that out. Otherwise, I'll still go ahead and start you off, just like every podcast we do. Just to give us a little bit of background. Tell us a little bit about yourself, man.
Right on. Yeah. So I'm Alex. Work for Slope right now, and I used to be a protocol coordinator. And with that, I really admire Slope for in the way that we design our product and really want to make people's lives easier. We start it from the ground up, meaning we start at the site experience. And I think that we reinforce that interest and that dedication to sites by hiring a lot of people that have site experience like myself. I used to be over at actually the Carbone Cancer Center in University of Wisconsin. Shout out to all my Carbone friends. For about 2 years over there, learned a lot from some phenomenal mentors, but was always kind of curious about the vendor space. And we actually did use Slope when I was over at Carbone. So I was grateful to be able to ditch those spreadsheets, a common thing I usually say in marketing materials, but I can say it confidently because I wasn't just that guy that said, wouldn't it be terrible if I had to, use a spreadsheet day in and day out? Like I actually did live that experience. And then I remember the day that that my boss came over to me and said, hey, we're going to try out some of this new equipment. It's been offered totally for free. But we can do a lot more than what we typically do with our spreadsheets, and it may be a little more intuitive. And I started punching things in, playing around, kind of my typical way about approaching something new, and said, "Wow, yeah, this is so much better. It's easy on the eyes. It feels like it was actually designed for me, and I actually want to enjoy. I enjoy using it." And so, something else I like to say is I loved it so much I joined the company. But yeah, here I am.
No, I love that. I love, especially as we're seeing more sort of site-focused solutions come around. I mean, I think it's always really cool to see people come up from the sites and actually work for these companies. People have actually had to be sort of in the trenches, as I refer to it, and kind of test to actually solving problems that exist, not sort of what we imagine problems are. I think there's still a lot of that kind of going on. So again, I love it. I think it says a lot about a company when they actually bring in people up from the site level and include them, because again, I think you probably get a much better product that way, much better, more honest feedback as to what's going on. So I guess first let's back up and just say, what is Slope? What is it?
Sure, yeah. So Slope, we are an inventory and sample management solution. So we like to make your trials more boring, is what we like to say, because everybody that has spent 10 minutes in research knows that there are protocols to have to digest and schedule events to have to decipher and lab manuals that are constantly changing. It's just like nothing ever, change is the only constant, which is true in life, but definitely true in clinical research. And coordinators are jumping back and forth between how many of our protocols they have to deal with. And wouldn't it be nice if there was something that, again, was easy to use and that allowed you to kind of take some of that mental load off and be able to have the system be driving it for you? And in the product that I'm going to be showing a little bit later today, that load is about clinical inventory and making sure that when things are set to expire. Things I teased a little bit earlier today, things set to expire. When things are running low, typically you're babysitting a spreadsheet and hoping that it's right, and that especially if you have multiple coordinators that are in charge of making sure that that spreadsheet is up to date, you're relying on them. And then if something does happen, or if there's a problem, and the spreadsheet says you have 2 kits that are expiring in 2 months, and really you have 1 kit and expired yesterday, and you've got that patient visit. What do you do in that case? There's no accountability that's built into the way that we're doing it right now. And so Slope is trying to change quite a few of those processes and make them, again, more intuitive and easier, but also allowing sites, and then the people with whom they're directly working, monitors, sponsors, et cetera, everybody to kind of be working together and playing on the same field and breaking down some of those silos that we're unfortunately very used to at this point. I don't know if you can see that or if you agree with that.
Yes, all too often. Because to your point, as it stands, sites are in most cases, sort of on their own when it comes to managing their lab kits. I mean, lab kits is a big thing that comes to my mind. I'm sure there's other things that we track through Slope. I'm sure you'll be happy to share those. But specifically lab kits, it can be challenging even at a single site who has got multiple studies where, you may receive 50 lab kits in the beginning and all the way out to a year or whatever the case may be. You may not get to those until the time they're expired, which isn't always top of mind, right? I mean, you're especially again depending on how high volume the trial or the enrollment may be. So that's challenging alone when you're one site, one center, keeping up with that as a coordinator with multiple studies, especially as we're seeing in sort of evolution of what research sites are. We're in a bunch of different community practices. We're maybe not on site every day, keeping an eye on every lab kit. Again, huge issue. If it's sort of out of sight, out of mind, you show up, you're ready to draw a patient, and you're like, well, crap, lab kit expired 3 days ago. It's not good.
Yeah, and I think because of course we're using a lot of data in order to have these insights and then pass them on. And we just actually broke 1,000 sites on our platform relatively recently, so very excited about that. But
Nice.
with all this data that we've aggregated, we're I think tracking a little bit over 1.6 million items at this point. And so that's a lot of insight into how those items are used, and unfortunately how often those items are wasted. I mean, one thing that we see is about, with those items, about 70% of them just go into the trash bin or the recycling bin. I would like to think that some of those items get donated, but as we know, especially when it comes to glass or other items that aren't as easily shipped, those are required to go into the dumpster behind your site. And how disheartening is that when we're trying to be pushing things forward and we're trying to be treating patients, that the cost of doing business is adding to our landfills. Like that's so disheartening. And so of course we wanted to make the coordinators' lives easier first and foremost, but also kind of that unspoken problem that no one really wants to talk about, all that waste in our industry. When you're looking at your inventory and you're managing it more intelligently, it also cuts down on environmental impacts as well. So we're big into that and wanting to make that a bigger priority in the research space as well.
Yeah, I love that. I mean, it's no secret, and I've made posts before with bags of leftover supplies. Most sites can or try to go out of their way to at least find some sort of use, whether it be donating to veterinarian's office, or we found a phlebotomy course that we'll take them and use them. But nonetheless, you're talking a ton of leftover stuff that it does potentially end up in landfills or biohazard waste somewhere. So again, I love that. I mean, it's kind of weird to call it a side effect, but a side effect of actually managing the inventory correctly. So cool. We've talked about it. So actually, before we go on, I know you want to go through the system a little bit, give a little brief kind of overview, / demo, but you guys not only work with site side, right? You also work with sponsor side as well. Can you speak to that at all?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. So we, the platform that I'm going to be showing today is strictly going to be the free platform that's going to be geared towards sites, but we do have multiple models that, that we're working with. And our premium solution, what we like to call it, is again, that's that solution that allows everybody to be viewing in real time or near real time what everybody else in that direct relationship is doing, whether that be sponsors being able to see when sites are going to be drawing patients, when they're going to be registering those samples, and each of we have a complex barcode system so that we can track each aliquot after it has been drawn, after it has been packaged properly and sent out to the first lab. If it's a multi-lab trial, which, we know that trials are becoming more and more complex as we go on, it could go lab to biorepository. We can track that entire journey. So, the site feels, rest assured that, oh, I know where that is. It's not this black hole that, as a coordinator, I very distinctly remember saying, okay, wave to the FedEx guy, the box leaves my desk. And then I just kind of shrug and say, I hope it gets to the lab. I
Right.
have no idea. I don't have a contact. I have a tracking number, but I also have to manage like 100 other tracking numbers. So I don't know. But we solved that problem right away. And it's probably a small concern for me. But when especially like on a phase one, an early phase, low patient load, high value sample trial, each of those samples is going to be very important to a sponsor. So we allow them to sleep better at night. So because they know exactly where those are at every given time, that every checkpoint that the courier marks is going to be transmitted to them, so that when site gets somebody, a monitor saying, hey, you shipped that sample about a week ago. Do you have any idea where it is? Previously, where I'd, again, throw up my hands and shrug and say, it should be there in about a week. That's kind of our general timeline. I can say, hey, you know what? It passed through Tennessee yesterday, and it is on the way, and it should be arriving in 2 days. And the lab it should be on a day when the lab is going to actually be open and receive it. So I can say that with a lot of confidence. Saves time, monitors happy, and then we go about our day. But whether it be email alerts, whether it be again those dashboards that allow sponsors to see exactly how that site activity is going, we bring that to the forefront, and I think are very unique in the way that we have a solution that again is built from the ground up, built with the site experience in mind, but with that data that is equally valuable to sponsors. We shoot that up the funnel so that they can have the peace of mind that their study is running on time, that they're saving money. We've got a bunch of ROI calculations. If anybody is listening is interested in learning more about how we save money in a very tangible sense, and everybody's just been really, really happy with it. And we're always, of course, looking to expand our roadmap and align ourselves to what really our primary stakeholders need, to keep as we're trying to keep up with the ever-changing landscape of clinical trials, aligned to what is required on a regulatory side, but also what is most desired on just a features end of things.
Well, I think it's an interesting point. I was thinking about this morning, actually. Like, so much of what we do is so like, some will argue like over documented almost, but then some things just seem to be left up to chance in some ways. Maybe that's a bad way to put it, but I feel like labs getting shipped out is one of those things. Maybe you dump it off at a FedEx, or they come and pick it up, and then you're just kind of like, okay, I don't know what's happening to it. I don't know when. You don't think about it until there's a problem. I mean, if there's a problem, it's probably already too late, because you don't know what happened in between that time. Or we've had instances where we've had to leave them at a front desk of a clinic we've been working with, and then somebody stashes the box under a desk, and someone comes to pick it up, doesn't get picked up. Well, we might know that for days, as to where, if you had something in real time that was reporting to you what's going on, you could be like, well, wait a minute, why didn't this get scanned somewhere along the way? Again, so you could probably save yourself a lot of trouble. Again, not things that happen all the time, but if they happen one time, that's too many, right? That's again, I love that. And again, it's just funny, the things that we document like crazy, and then the things that we just sort of send out the door and then don't think twice about. So, again, I like that.
And I think like on the, I kind of straddle both the site and the sponsor side. And so I've been on plenty of sponsor conversations where, after we say what we can be, keep an eye on your samples for you and for all of your teams, across your entire organization, I physically see their shoulders fall, and we hear all of these stories that, this isn't just a one-off example with, one or two sponsors having anxiety about where these things are, what condition they're in, that they're going to be received properly, that they're going to be accessioned properly. It's across the board, and it's a little different each and every time. But I think one thing that I like to communicate is that, just like you said, this is not something that is like priority number 6. And, it happens maybe once a month. Do we really need to deal with it? Like, no, this is happening every day. Your protocol research coordinators are trying to stay afloat. They're trying not to incur any deviations. They're trying to treat their patients ethically and responsibly. Sponsors are making sure that they have the data that they need to get FDA approval at the end of the day, and everybody's doing their best, but there's inevitably going to be friction. And why not, spend some money and invest some money in a solid solution that's going to bring everybody, increase channels of communication and bring everybody to the same, on the same playing field, really, and give them the features that they need in order to feel confident in how their sample operations are going.
Yeah, I love it. Well, If you're ready, man, let's
Yeah, let's do it.
jump in and
Absolutely.
take a peek, and I will
Let's do this thing.
try to make everything look pretty.
Yeah, oh, please do. Hopefully we make things look pretty as well. Yeah, so can you see COG North in the top left-hand corner?
Yep, you're good.
Fantastic. All right. Yeah. So I'm not going to go through a comprehensive demo here. I just want to give a couple of visuals and again really speak to the value of each of these items that we have added to the platform. All of which have the coordinator site experience in mind. Both we designed this both with some like on the ground research experience from a variety of coordinators getting their input, as well as our own, again, lived experiences with the wide array of site facing and some sponsor facing persons as well internally within our organization. So, we built it from people that have actually done these things and used platforms like these. So with that being said, we also try to make it as simple as possible. So, this is going to be specifically designed for the clinical research world, and this view, our study site view, for the coordinators, the lab techs, lab managers, kind of those primary personas we see that interact with the Slope platform. And so, right here, of course, you're primarily going to be working in your clinical trial space. And so if we pop in here, we see a list of all of the trials that you can, a list of trials that you have already set up in the system. It's really easy to be adding trials. All we ask is just, for yourself, just to be adding a protocol name and a sponsor name, and then setting the practice area that trial is going to be under, just for easy categorization. But it takes about 30 seconds to actually create an inventory record, and then you can just jump in and be adding whatever inventory you would like. And popping into there as well, we try to make it, again, as straightforward as possible, but also not skimping on the capabilities that you can do. So after naming an inventory item, you can actually, what I'll do is I'm going to not create an entire inventory, but just kind of show you what it would be like after we name it and give it a type. These metadata attributes, I think, is really, especially for this part of the solution, is really a core feature that, especially if you're just using a manual system, is going to be much better than your status quo, in that not only are you able to track the expiration date throughout the life cycle of that item, but up to 3 months ahead of time to 2 weeks ahead of time, be given both in-app inventory alert triggers, expiration triggers, as well as we also send an email once a week, so that if you have any... Oh, sorry. Yeah, were you going to say something?
No, I was saying, I mean, I love that. I love that idea of being getting plenty of time. Again, some sponsors can ship labs very quickly. Some take a good deal of time. So you've got a little bit of customization there, and how quickly, you can get notified and make sure you've got plenty of time to get, new orders out. So I love that.
Absolutely. Yeah, exactly. And there are, and I think really it's on a study by study basis. Sometimes I only need a month heads up. And especially, when we were in the COVID times, and sometimes we had to order things like 2 months ahead of time, just to make sure that we get a kit by the time a patient comes in, and we have to kind of do all this impossible mental math to figure out, okay, because they're 8 weeks delayed, we need to order it on this date. We think that patient will come in on this date. It's impossible to predict all the variables. But one way to set yourself up for success is to have all the information that you possibly can have, and for that to be directed towards you, versus, again, something that I think a lot of coordinators listening probably can relate to, is having to babysit a spreadsheet that you don't know is accurate, and having to put a lot of time and energy into this static field of various cells that doesn't really work for you, and then causes extra stress when you're trying to creatively problem solve issues that come up on a day-to-day. So we take those really mundane, time-wasting tasks out of it, so that you can, again, be focusing your attention on what matters. But yeah, so we got the expiration. One thing that I like to mention as well is that rather than you or a coordinator, lab tech, whoever's in charge, having to go from space to space inside your physical facility, and try to have a mental map of where all of your items are, what condition they're in, etc., we have this thing called storage areas, which is, as you might expect, a way for you to define where all of your items live, and then be allocating each item that you create in Slope to a storage area. So that, I'm just going to pop into our inventory storage right here. This is just an example, but if you define quite a few storage areas, you can see right off the bat, oh, shelf 2, we might need some spring cleaning. There's a lot of items that are set to expire, or maybe you can see, oh, this trial is, set to be over in just a couple weeks. So maybe we need to clear this out because we've got, 2 other sponsors knocking down our door. We got an SIV in 2 weeks, and we need to figure out where the heck to put all these new kits that we're inevitably going to be receiving in 2 days. So adds a little bit of ease and makes that process of wanting to do best practices of, the first in, first out, kitting usage, just so that's, again, if you have multiple kits that are the exact same type in different storage areas, you can find the one that is going to be expiring soonest, and then, potentially get away from the waste that would happen if you used one that was expiring later. A way to make it a little bit easier to visualize your spaces, visualize what is in those spaces and the status of those items in those spaces. Back to your days in the I know you're working at a site right now, but if you go back to your research coordinator persona, is this something I think that you would have appreciated back in those times, Brad?
Yeah, I mean, I think even again now, where I'm still involved, with coordinating to some degree, and I've gone back and looked on a shelf, and within the last 6 months, picked up a kit. It was expired, and can really throw a big wrench in your day. So yeah, no, this is huge. I did have a question in the audience here. I did want to jump onto, and probably goes back to your last page, but. Okay. And thank you, Michael, for the question. But can you click multiple time points for the alerts? So it looked like there were check boxes. Can you stack those so you're getting an alert at 60, 45, and 30 days?
Great question, Michael. Thank you for that. So yeah, if I pop into new inventory here, that is one of the things that we've set up. So yeah, if you really want to be on the ball, which I admire your tenacity, we can be getting everything from, again, 3 months out to 2 weeks out, and can be checking anything in between. So especially those high value, high priority kits, absolutely. We want to make sure that you have both the flexibility, but also that information, so that you know where it is at every given space. You can check multiple boxes.
Well, for me, I might need multiple reminders before I actually
you don't have a
order
lot
the thing,
going
right?
on.
So
I'm sure it's always top of mind. Yeah, no.
I need to start at 90. I need all the reminders. Just just check them all every time, and maybe I'll make sure they get ordered.
Cool. One other thing I wanted to bring up before I go on is the 2 types of alerts that I keep talking about, those expirations and those inventory alerts. So you can see low inventory alert down here. Say if I, with my screening kit or whatnot, I had 15 that I punched in, and I set my inventory alert at 8. As you might expect, as I'm using kits and the amount that are in the ready state drops below that threshold that I've set, this being 8, that's when you're also going to be getting those alerts, both your global alerts for all of your studies in Slope, as well as your one-off alerts for this specific trial that we're in right now, for the ABT trial. So, we want to break down information overload, so you can only see the alerts that you want to, but also be informed with what is, a high priority, making sure that you always have the kits that you need, and that when you drop below a level that you deem to be a time to reorder, that's something that is immediately brought to top of mind because of that automated alert system, rather than having to, at the end of the day, spend 20 minutes figuring out, okay, for all 100 kits in my space, what needs to be reordered, and make sense of something more static.
And it's like the ability to be able to customize your inventory alert. Again, some studies are enrolling very quickly. You might need a long lead time. You might need to have a lot of kits left, but maybe some aren't. Maybe you only need a couple before you need to really start worrying about it. So again, I love the ability to customize and really tailor it to the specific project even.
Absolutely. I want to touch on a couple more things before we go to any questions, or just kind of discuss a bit more. But when we're looking at those alerts, so we've broken out the alerts into expired, expiring, and no and low inventory. So this is, as I mentioned, that global alert section, so that you can see everything that's happening all at once. But depending on, we know that sites like to work a bit differently. Some are more tech savvy, some are more wedded to paper, which no problems either way. If you are the tech savvy one, you can just be, taking Slope with you on your phone, on your tablet, and then be checking off problems as they go. Or you can be printing like a whole page of all the alerts and things that you need to attend to, and then just go, check with a piece of paper and with a pen. So however you want to go about addressing those alerts, super easy to do so. One other thing that is a common question is, what kind of data can I pull from Slope? And do I need to contact you in order to pull that data? And the first answer is you can pull a lot of helpful data. And the second is it's all on demand to make it very easy for you to not have to, be messaging us at 2 a.m. saying, hey, oh gosh, I need to pull this report for a monitor tomorrow. Very easy. We got item and movement reports are the two primary ones that we like to talk about. Item reports being a spreadsheet that after you click it, automatically sent to your email inbox. And what it is a list of all of the items that are going to be for the type of reports that you are going to be processing. It could be just for one study. You could be getting an item report for all of your studies, like a big old spreadsheet. But yeah, just to have that on like a CSV file that you can filter and be looking for various insights. And then movement reports, we're 21 CFR Part 11 compliant. We take accessibility and we take data quality and privacy seriously. And so that means that, I'm Slope admin right now, but if I was, Michael or whoever the coordinator name would be, every time I do something, I add a kit, I take a kit and move it from the ready state to the used state, or the ready state to the expired state, my name would be tied to that action. And that would be reflected in the movement report, which monitors love, frankly, because they want to know, what's happening. And then to have that at next level of accountability saying, how can I confirm that this is actually real data? Who would I speak to? And how can I know that's, where would I go next if a problem did arise? So again, all on demand, but a really easy way, just with one click to be getting some data out of the platform. And again, this is all included in our completely free system that we are giving out to sites with, as many trials as you want to add, as many team members, all of that.
Let's see. I'm sure you'll continue to get there, but we do have other questions popping up. Like,
Yeah,
for
let's do
example,
it.
how do
Absolutely.
you, and thank you, Catherine. How would you say you've used a kit? I'm guessing, I see a use button over there on the right. I'm guessing, as you utilize kits, you're able to sort of check them off there.
Yeah, absolutely. And Catherine, I appreciate that question because I was actually going to go into it. Great minds. So once we see all of these kits in the ready state here, if we just want to use a one-off kit, we would just click the use button. But also we know that while ideally it would go from ready and then it would be used and then it would be that transaction would be over, inevitably things happen. So we have kits, we have various statuses. The kit might expire before you get to it. Totally okay, but you can mark it as such in Slope. It could get damaged. It could get lost. You might, a component might be missing or faulty, and you may have to return it to sponsor or your kitting vendor, or for whatever reason, it may need to be disposed. And we have reflected each of those statuses right here. And then after, I'll just mark this one as damage so that you can see as Slope is processing this, you're going to get an entirely new tab. It's almost kind of like a binder. So you can see all of your specific items that live in each status. All this is added to that protocol specific audit trail, by the way, so that you can see where your items happened. Maybe after this closes, you can be saying, hey, this is a trend that we see at our various research center, and this is one way that for the next trial we may be able to innovate and may be able to have more items that just are properly processed through the ready to the use section rather than go through one of the unusable or undesirable statuses. But a lot of accountability and a lot of data that obviously you wouldn't otherwise have. Okay. And I'm also going to go over one more thing real quick. This is just, I'm just going to jump over or hop on this very quickly, but I want to highlight the fact that we want to kind of give what we like to call a value add as well, because we know that there are things that inevitably as coordinators, you probably want to track but that may not fit into particularly one clinical trial or another. And so we add these things called supply groups. So you can easily define it, whatever name you would like. And then you can be tracking. This is a common one that some sites like to do is your PPE. You can say, hey, I've got 4 boxes of gloves right now. And when we go under 2 boxes, I need to reorder that. Or, your business department might be like, hey, we got to track how many pens and pads of paper we have. And so we have this really strong backbone of traceability, of automation, and we want to kind of extend that to other uses for sites that, again, have a lot going on and need as much help as they can get in order to keep track and make sense of everything. And so that's something that coordinators, some sites really like it, some sites don't use it at all, but just wanted to bring it up in case anybody was curious. So.
Yeah, no, that's a good call. And I mean, what other sorts of things have you seen sites track? I mean, even like, could you track like your eDiary or ePro?
Mhm.
Things that are coming in, that kind of jumps out to me as
Absolutely.
an obvious one. What other? I mean, maybe what are some unique things or anything you've seen that other sites are tracking?
Yeah, and you can certainly track, and the nice part about Slope is that you can track essentially anything. You can, track kits, devices, bulk supplies, shippers, really what have you. And so I think I might have mentioned this already, but if we go back into the clinical trial space and I create inventory, we have designators for all of those different types of items. And so
Nice.
if you're looking for something on the fly, you just got 20 seconds. You're like, how many for this ABT trial? How much drug do we currently have? You can just jump to it and see your levels, where the drug is located right now. We try to make it, again, as quick as possible to be getting the information you need. But yeah, I mean, sometimes what sites like to do with equipment that they have that needs to be calibrated, sometimes they punch that into Slope as either a device or as an equipment, and then the calibration date, they just they use the expiration to mark when that item needs to be recalibrated. And so again, that's a workaround that some sites choose to use and others don't. But that's kind of a less common use case, but can still certainly see the value in being able to put that data in and using Slope as a source of truth, as cliche or overused of a phrase, that is a source of truth for knowing how to keep what we have in store, but also how to keep our equipment operating optimally so that it can be used as intended for patient use.
Yeah, I know. I love that. I think when I first looked at this it's been a couple of years. I think that was one of the things that jumped out. I was like, oh, I could keep up with my calibrations across all my different offices. I mean, I love, again, you can kind of fit it how you want. And that
Mhm.
brings me to a question from the audience here from Paul Christensen. Thanks, Paul. Can I use this for investigational products? Can this replace or reconcile my product accountability documents?
Sure. So great question, Paul. Thank you very much. So the short answer is yes, you can certainly use that for IP. We have a drug indicator right here. And you would be storing drug as it is now, you would be storing drug like you would any other item, where there would be serial numbers so that you could indicate which vial or whatever else unique indicator for that individual piece of IP. You can attach that to your records, and then be using it or disposing of it, whatever you would like, as a piece of drug. I want to be very clear that we are not an IRT. We do not do randomization. That is not something that we touch on. We know that there are other very good solutions that work in that space. However, but especially for this completely free version, you can certainly be managing your inventory levels and knowing when to reorder and when when your IP may be expiring. There may be we're currently working on some greater drug accountability features for our pharmacy users. I probably can't speak too much more about it right now because I don't want to give out any promises or any timelines, but that's certainly a top priority of ours that we're looking into for greater accountability, reconciliation,
Yeah,
dispensing.
don't give away all the secrets, but
Oh no, absolutely not. No, no.
I could definitely see a place where this could fit in with dispensation. I mean, you need some tweaks, obviously, and like some more data there than probably what's there by default. But
Mhm.
if you're able to load it in anyway,
Mhm.
as sort of general accountability, I could certainly see a way where it could be used for, more than just that, as a tracking dispensation and all that stuff. So that's pretty exciting, I think.
It is. And I want to
You
give
know,
a shout out as well to, we have this request a feature. I think a lot of companies are saying, yeah, send something to this email and we'll get to it. And I admire Slope because I think we're very transparent in how we go about suggestions. We work with a company called Canny so that whenever anybody puts in a suggestion, everybody else that pops into that Canny field can see it. They can upvote it. They can add comments to it. Anybody that pops in can see, oh, this is planning. Oh, this is in the planning stage. Oh, this is in the shaping stage. We really try to make our roadmap as much as possible without, again, as you said, giving away the secrets, as transparent as we can, and really taking in, especially those site voices, but everybody else with whom we work as well, into account, and trying to figure out what really they need. So to your point, Paul, if you want to, be jumping on and be adding that as a suggestion, or seeing other suggestions along the lines of tracking drug, you can very easily do so.
and so I have a couple more questions here. One
Yeah,
from
yeah. Here, I'll stop my share
Catherine.
for right now, but I'll,
Sure.
yeah, if we want to pull it back up, I'm more than happy to.
We'll fix here. Yeah, I think we're good. And a couple from Catherine here. And I suspect I know the answer here, but because this kind of data gets sent to sponsors or to labs, can you use them to tell them you need resupply? I'm guessing if it's sort of being utilized by the site themselves, you're probably still going to have to go. I mean, you can use it to track to know when you need to use their resupply form, but
Mhm.
I'm guessing if it's being utilized from the sponsor side, is that sort of integration sort of part of the deal?
Well, it's absolutely. I mean, that's part of our premium experience where the
Right.
sponsor buys in, where we take that
Right.
protocol, we build it in, and information is automatically communicated to lab, sponsor, and site for this. Independent. We called it the unconnected experience because sites don't need any authorization from sponsor. They can just be setting up, just like you would when you opened up a spreadsheet document. You can set up all of your information completely on your own and customize it as you would like. It's essentially your oyster. But as such, because it's unconnected, it is not automatically going to be sent to sponsors or labs. You can, of course, be printing out those reports. One thing I like to say is you can, almost like make a password protection or lock down those Excel spreadsheets, so in order to ensure that the data is correct before sending it out to any personnel that you would need from any other stakeholder. But it's not going to be automatically done so in this free side of things.
Fair. Yeah. And, hopefully that's something we see more uptake of as sites onboard, like the experience, share that experience. I mean, I certainly, as a site, I strongly suggest and recommend that if you're using, whether it be Slope or anything else on the site side that you think has great value for sponsors and for other sites, to talk about it with your sponsors, recommend it, tell them that you like it. I mean, there's a lot of good stuff out there, but we still haven't really seen, I mean, in my opinion, enough like uptake across the sponsor side in things that could actually help make our lives easier, and not not more, sips that are out there. We need more things that sites like to use. So, just my 2 cents there. And another good observation from Louisa. It's fantastic in her experience. Labs running trials in more academic contexts, like universities, don't always take advantage of these kinds of platforms. A lot of people just don't know about them. Just curious to hear your thoughts on why this might be, and whether you expect to see greater use in academia in the future. I'm sure you can speak to the relationships you guys probably already have with some academic sites.
Absolutely. Yes. No. So, as somebody that came from an academic site that really derived a lot of value from Slope, especially academic sites that are running these high impact oncology trials and things across the board. Yes, I think that the value and the alignment is there, and of course we want to support that. I also want, as part of your comments, and as part of what you were saying, Brad, for just getting the word out and trying to separate the gold versus all of the rest of the minerals that may not be as valuable, and really the best solutions where there isn't going to be a catch, and it actually is going to be something of high value. I think the thing that we've really seen is word of mouth plays a lot of importance. It cannot be understated. When I am talking to a new coordinator that's really jazzed to check out the product, they usually say, hey, yeah, my coordinator friend from halfway across the country in a very similar practice setting as me they told me about this and they said that, this is great and, totally beats the heck out of what we have right now. And that is what got me and perked my ears up as well as that of my department. And so I think, if you like what you see right now, would love it if you could, tell other people through either informal channels, through listservs, whatever it may be, comment on LinkedIn about it, because, we're trying our best in order to be, promoting what we do, promoting its value, and the fact, again, that, this base product that's very full featured is completely for free. But we also, something that is important on the academia side of things is that we built it so that it runs in a web browser, which may not sound like much, but when we have IT teams at these academic medical centers that are very serious about what comes in and comes out, meaning downloads, that could be a huge issue in that they would have to vet something and they might just not allow it at all if it would require a download. Whereas something that's a bit more lean, something a bit more flexible, we listen to our coordinators and our IT friends, and that was the correct model to do it. So we're kind of trying to set ourselves up best to be implemented at academic sites, and that is one of our primary markets to speed along their trials, because we know that there are hundreds that are going on at all these various AMCs, and they're doing fantastic work. So however we can support is great.
No question. It's been a while since I've worked in academia, but I mean, I felt like when I was there, this was 10 plus years ago at this point, but I mean, I felt like anything different or new was going to be like very hard to get in the door. I think that it sounds like it's changing, and especially probably at bigger research institutions where they are doing a lot more trials. So I know it's encouraging to see, slow as it may be, more sort of uptake and progress in terms of utilizing good tools that are out there. Again, I love not everybody has to reinvent the wheel. We've got these great options out there.
Mm-hmm.
This is another fun question. I think this is Dr. Fox. I don't know why you show up as LinkedIn user, Dr. Fox. We need to talk about that. Oh, with supply chain shortages, do you ever see this being used to potentially, share supplies amongst or between sites? And I've actually had done this before. I've had to call a site down the street and be like, man, do you have I don't know, whatever, quintiles shipper box? Like, we're short. Help us out, man. Is there a way that this could potentially, I don't know, maybe if you're a site, you can like put your stuff out there and, it could potentially work together between sites. Is that something you guys have considered at any point?
Sure. So I think I know the use cases. Actually, it's we had a blog post a long time ago about Ethan, who has also been on your show and is been at Slow for quite a bit of time, where he wrote that he drove halfway across Georgia in order to get a kit that his site needed at the time. And so I know that these situations exist, and especially in these trial rich and site rich areas, there's a lot of this activity does happen. As for how it would work in Slope, I certainly think that it allows sites to know exactly what they of course what they have on hand, and what they comparing that with schedule of events and with patient schedules for what is coming in the short term. They may be able to better see what they could have that they could spare for a different site, and kind of facilitate those conversations. At this point, to be able to take an item like from one site account and just instantly map it over to a completely different organization might be a little bit of a challenge. I think we're looking to, again, make sharing a bit easier in the future, but also making sure that on the flip side of that, we want to make sure that your data is protected, and that if somebody clicks something, right, you're not, giving away valuable information with, specialized serial numbers and lot numbers. So kind of riding that valuable line between protecting everybody's data, but also making it easy when those one-off situations come up, that to reflect where items are going in the grand scheme of things.
Nice. And got a couple questions. I do want to address one that came in before the show that we talked about in terms of, right now it's still a somewhat manual process. It sounds like, of entering in the equipment as it comes in. Have you guys looked into or have the sort of the scanning ability on your roadmap, or is that something you guys are even doing currently?
Oh, we're very aware that the scanning ability is a top priority. It's been requested quite a few times. And again, with my coordinator hat on, I would absolutely love that sort of a thing. I will say that it's now in the shaping stage of things. We know that being able to take a kit. I have a barcode scanner right next to me all the time because I love using it, and I'm showing off how Slope can work, because we do work with barcode scanners. You can easily take any hash, scan it in, and it will show that hash at some place in the Slope platform. So we're in the shaping stage of things. We understand that how valuable of an addition that would be for site users. Maximize efficiency, and that's something, of course, that is very valuable to us as well. But just to make sure that we do it right, and make sure we do it right the first time, we're still gathering a little bit more data and figuring out exactly how to implement that best. But without going into much more, I'm confident that you'll be seeing some sort of improvement along those lines in the near future.
Nice. And I got one here. It's, I think, a great way to sort of segue into the final minutes here. Michael Mott loves what he's seeing. So how'd you get set up? How'd you get it set up with Slope?
Michael, I appreciate that. So what typically you would do right now is get, and you've probably seen quite a bit of the demo right here just with me. So I would love to get to know you a little bit, get to know your site, just have a really brief conversation. But thankfully, it's really easy it's going to be primarily me that sets up that account for you. But all I would need is just a little bit of information: your name, email address, a couple things in order to get that configuration right on the back end. And then all I would do is, after I punch in your email address, you get an activation email saying, "Oh, welcome to your Slope account." And after you click that button, account activates. And again, you see all of the features that I demoed before. You can add as many clinical trials, add as many supply groups as you would like, add as many team members as you would like. I didn't really touch on that, but all it takes is I wouldn't be the one that would be doing that. It'd be you. Hits add a new person, type in their email, and then you can either make sure that they are an administrator so that they have access to everything, or a staff person so that you can kind of pick and choose which trials they have access to, which supply groups they have access to, just again to kind of cut down on the information if those certain trials are not applicable to them, and also make sure that only the right people are seeing the right data that they are supposed to be. So we try to make it really fast, but certainly get in touch with me afterwards, and I can help you get you set up in less than a day.
Beautiful.
Perfect. And I saw you shared your email, so thank you very much, Michael. I appreciate that.
Perfect. Yeah. Anything else as we sort of wrap up and wind down here?
No, I mean, one thing I do want to say, while we were talking along the lines of barcode scanning as a way to, be very fast about how we implement things in Slope, I will say that we have a couple strategies on how to get things, before that really comes to full fruition. Get your information in very quickly, because that's kind of where we see a lot of those hangups. In full transparency, people say, I'm so busy as is. I don't know if this is really going to work with me. I don't know if this is going to work with my coordinators. How can I just either get all my info in like 20 minutes, or how can I start with one trial just to see if it really is a good fit for my department? And while I think our UI is very good, you don't have to be adding in items one by one. You can add them in all in bulk. So, a lot number applies to 15 items. You just have to punch that in once, and then it generates that. All the items go into the same shipping storage space, or in the storage area. It's all going to be generated at once. So there's the UI, which is fairly quick. And then also we have a system where you can take all of your information and then be uploading it into a protocol spreadsheet. And he's probably in a spreadsheet already, so you just go one to one. You punch it into all of the various rows, and then after re-inputting that into the Slope platform, you can just re-upload that spreadsheet that we've pre-configured. It maps all of those items. It creates trials that aren't already in your platform. It adds items that you have said apply to one protocol into an existing record. So really easy for putting in 3 to 5 trials, usually we say, all at once. And that takes about 5 minutes tops. But somebody actually early on put in 15,000 items all at once using that spreadsheet. So it's a very powerful tool to get you onboarded right away.
Beautiful. Yeah. And I know that's a challenge for sites, and it's been a challenge for us in using a lot of different site solutions, is that getting over that first sort of, at least what's perceived as sort of a heavy lift in the beginning, right? Because I mean, honestly, it's the first step is usually the hardest, right? Is getting
Yes.
getting a bunch of stuff in all at once, and then usually it's you kind of plateau a little bit. It's not quite as
Mhm.
bad from there, but
Yeah.
I'm sure that's a concern. So it's nice you guys have some way to sort of map things over,
Yeah.
and
And I
make it
will say
a
that also,
simpler process.
yeah, and even if it is a free solution, you do have support from our team. Where we have our ClinOps team is available 9 to 5. We have a little button at the bottom where you can be live chatting them if anything does arise. We're not specifically saving their hours for only paying customers. We value that free side just as much as we do the paid side as well. And so if something does come up, someone will get back to you, promptly, just to alleviate any concerns of, oh, this is free, so I'm going it on my own, and it's kind of half baked. That is not the case of what you will find here.
Yeah, I mean, we haven't gotten fully on. We haven't gotten on Slow, but I will say, just in my interactions, they are very responsive, and it seem to have great customer service. So certainly don't be afraid of that. So, well, very cool, Alex. I really appreciate you coming on, guys. There's if you want to check out other live streams, you can check out notifypodcast.com. Give us some contact for you, Alex.
Yeah, so our website is going to be slopeclinical.com, and I can share my email if anybody is curious about messaging me directly. It's just my full name, alexander.yant, Y-A-N-T, at slopeclinical.com. So feel free to send me an email. Would love to either get you set up, answer any questions, or again, if this is something that you're interested in, or somebody that who might be interested in something like this, please feel free to pass that information on to them. Would love to work with you.
Awesome. All right. Thanks again, Alex.
Yeah,
And
this has been a
thanks
pleasure, Brett.
everyone.
Thank you so much.
Thanks everyone for your comments. And we'll be back next week.